And I've only picked this out only because there is one aspect of it that that interests me. So there's been rumours recently that WWDC is coming up, so the usual software announcements are going to be made for the coming year. iPadOS 19 is apparently going to feature some new multitasking capabilities. Now, they've said that for years. They've introduced features that they claim are multitasking. Sure, I guess you can do it. I don't think anyone's ever really satisfied with what they come up with for the iPad, because it's still an iPad. Like, it still functions like an iPad. And I guess if you really want to do that true multitasking, you should be getting a Mac anyway to do that sort of thing.
Surely you need more than one screen.
That's right. And they're more than happy to sell them to you, I'm sure. Now, it may be that they do introduce, expanded functionality for multitasking for iPads when they announce it in June. But what really caught my eye on this one was that they might actually be also allowing the iPhone to do this. Now, that actually does open something that is quite interesting, which is the idea that you can plug your phone into a screen, and you might not get full Mac OS maybe, but if you get a desktop experience, now, I'll just back up and just say that all the Samsung people are going to say, yeah, but we've had that with DeX for 10 years already. Fine, this is iOS, this is Apple, they've never had it. So it is kind of a big deal for iPhone users. But if they manage that, I think there's a potential very interesting workflow scenario there that shouldn't be ignored, actually, if they manage to introduce it. And it would overshadow anything that they announced for the iPad, funny enough, as well.
It's interesting that you say that, because I agree. I think, I don't want to be down on the whole Samsung thing, but I've used their tablets and experienced some of their ecosystem, and it wasn't quite as smooth as I would have liked. The fact that Apple integrates everything, you're absolutely right. If you can go from the phone to the Mac through the phone, then, or an iPad towards a Mac, then suddenly you are creating something much more powerful, because every aspect of your post-PC personal computing environment becomes accessible through that pathway in ways which I don't think any other hardware provider can actually recreate. So it would be a huge step forward.
Well, I kind of think of it as like, if I go for a 2-week trip somewhere, I can use my phone as the primary computing device for everything. I literally don't need to take anything with me. So if you add that extra step that you can just plug it into a screen, and then you get a desktop experience, there might be people out there that would actually just forgo getting any other devices at that point, potentially.
Well, it's interesting, but both of us having just been away travelling, if I could have accessed files which normally I would have to go to my laptop for through my phone while travelling, which sure I can do now, I can save, but that whole idea of extending the Apple ecosystem into true multitasking across platforms, you then realise that's incredible power. It semi-exists now, but it's not seamless. And I think Apple, out of all of the hardware providers, is probably the only one that can probably crack that.
And I guess just one last point on this one. This is all in the lead up to Apple potentially releasing a folding phone next year, which is probably why they're doing the multitasking thing, because obviously if it's a folding phone, that potentially is even more reason to not have a tablet and a laptop and any other device, because that could be your one device for the whole thing. Supposedly they've figured out a way to not have a crease in the screen when it's folding. I'm not really interested in the folding phone. I think it's a gimmick, from my perspective. It's interesting, like anything when they try something else, it's not that it's not an interesting thing to look at and it's not an interesting device. It's just, I'm going to go back to the slab of glass really as a practical matter.
Yeah, I kind of, as I've voiced before, a friend who's got a Samsung Fold phone, and there's a lot to like about the Fold phone. And a lot of things that I wouldn't have personally ever thought that I would like or support. But it's a very specific use case. And it's the use case you've just stated, which is he does a lot of work on the go. He needs to read spreadsheets and more detailed documents. So that ability to fold out the phone is advantageous. But yeah, there's a specific use case for it where it really works well. But I don't know for the rest of us. I'm with you, slab of glass.
Yeah, and with tariffs coming in, I guess it won't affect us, but our friends in the US would probably have to pay twice as much for that folding phone, I'm sure.
Yeah, or Apple could just absorb that into their cost and still make a fortune.